Um, so I'm talking about the positive things first, and I'll come to the others in a little while. I do like your plans for the future. I have a few questions on that, which I'll come to. I enjoyed the comprehensive and contextualized aspect that you spoke about. And I found when I read your dissertation that your summaries were really good. I have a few questions which I would suggest you consider as suggestions, and I'm offering them to you with all humility, knowing that you are a Muslim, but I'd like you to consider them. So my first question is, who is a Muslim? You have put self-identified, but I was wondering if you would like to clarify who is a Muslim. Now, Wolfgang, I'm not sure if Aidan is supposed to respond now or later. So
whatever you kind of want to. So I mean, the idea is, I think you get into a conversation with Adin, and yeah, you can answer immediately or after all your questions or whatever is, and maybe Adin, you also can stop sharing your screen so that we have the full view. Yeah, thank you very much for that. So yeah, depends on how you would like to see that, Edwina.
Okay, Adam, what would be your preference? Would you like me to give you all the questions, or would you like me to? Would you like to answer after each question?
No, I think it will be better to answer after each question. Maybe you will have a subsequent question after that. Okay, can I answer that first? That one first? Okay, so basically this is the exact question being asked by the reviewer when I submitted this paper to the journal, which just accepted like 10 days ago, if I'm not mistaken, in the Journal of Management, Spirituality and Religion. Who is a Muslim, by the way? You are trying to talk about Muslim, Islam, but what is Islam, what is Muslim? And to that questions, I answered that because of the nature of my study that is using systematic literature review, it is not mine to say what is Muslim, who is Muslim, as long as the paper that I reviewed using the word Muslims of it, that's the paper that I will consider for inclusion. And if you read the paper thoroughly, you will find that there are varieties of the way people defining Islam and the way they are defining themselves as Muslims. For instance, when we are talking about women, some Muslim women says that they are not practicing. Also, some Muslim men says that they are not practicing, but they do not want to not be called as non-Muslim. They do not want to be called as non-Muslim. They still want to be called as Muslim because culturally they identified as Islam. Their father, their mother was Muslim, and they are also Islam, even though they are not practicing. So of course, as you say, that this is a very complex understanding of what is Islam, what is Muslim. I understand that, but in regards to my paper or my work in this dissertation, especially, I don't really, put much effort to clarify that kind of thing. As long as the reviewed paper talking about or using the term Islam and Muslim, then I will use the pragmatic approach to consider them for inclusion. What do you say about it?
Thank you for that response, Adin. I would still request you to consider, because there are groups who think they are Muslim, but the broader Muslim community prefers not to call them as Muslim. For example, Ahmadiyya or people from the Hizmet movement. Now, you did some research in Turkey, so you would be aware of that aspect. So I just thought I would alert you to that part. I was wondering also, this is in general, when you are looking at your thesis and your future work, if you will be looking at any of the people who self-identify as Muslim, but who are part of the rainbow community. And whether that's something that you would like to pick up. I think as a scholar from a Muslim majority country, it might be really appropriate to pick up issues which are difficult and not skirt around those issues. So again, that's a suggestion. I was also wondering.
Yeah. Sorry. No, I just would like to respond to that a little bit. I remember the paper that you wrote with Jawad Syed, 2010, A Pyramid of Hatred. Thank you very much for writing that insightful papers. And I remember that you wrote something about Ahmadiyya and CA community, which is of course also the case in our country, Indonesia, for instance. Like some people or most people in Indonesia will say that no, CA is not Muslim, even though they are, strictly saying that they are Muslims, while it is not mine to judge whether they are Muslim or not, but as a social reality and as a social scientist, of course, as you say, this is interesting topic to consider. Also, Muslim in rainbow community, we don't have that yet in Indonesia, like Muslims who are declaring themselves as LGBTQ plus community. But thank you very much for this suggestion. Of course, it will be difficult, but I think it will create novel insights, especially when it comes from Muslim majority countries. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. On the issue of radicalization and extremism, I was wondering if you would like to add more information in that area. You've touched on it very briefly, and that is an issue that comes up frequently.
All right. Do I get it correctly that you are talking about social extremism toward Muslim or Muslim as the perpetrators of social extremism?
I think both.
Okay. Yeah, as you mentioned that I only talked about it briefly. So this is my findings that Muslims, especially Muslim men, is Muslim minority countries, is often perceived as aggressive, extremist, and that kind of negative labeling. But at least from these 134 paper that I reviewed, I did not really found the papers because the paper that I did was in particularly concerning about workplace situation. So this is not really something about fighting in the social level or fighting in the street, but this is in the workplace. And in the workplace, I could only say that this is restricted to the knowledge that yes, Muslim men typically has this negative stereotype as being extremist, but no further information that I could drawn from these papers that I already reviewed. But maybe from another perspective, for future research, of course, I think that this is also interesting to see, because somehow when they are becoming labeled as extremists and the labeling theory, maybe some people just take it for as it is, like when you are labeled me as extremist, then I will be